Thank you so much for joining the commission.
Thank you, commissioners, and good afternoon to all of you. And thank you to the Independent Redistricting Commission for having us and for taking the patience and the time to hear our communities out. My name is Aminta Kilawan-Narine. I'm a lawyer, an organizer, and the founder and executive director of South Queens Women's March, a local grassroots gender justice organization. We were founded right before the pandemic hit, and we were inspired by global and national women's rights movements. We amplify the voices of South Queens' diverse women and gender expansive people. We're all volunteers, multi-generational, intersectional, and we're working to foster women's empowerment through dismantling the norms, practices, and institutions that support patriarchy and gender injustice. Much of our work is in Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, and Ozone Park, neighborhoods in South Queens. We take our sisterhood to our streets to unify women and gender nonconforming people. We do that through fighting food insecurity and period poverty, through our pantries. We do that through tackling gender-based violence, through healthy relationship workshops and art healing workshops. We promote economic and professional empowerment through other workshops, and finally promoting civic engagement and building political power, which is what brings us here today. We are a proud member of APAVOICE Redistricting Task Force. I've testified before you all before. Much of our work, again, is really specifically in the South Queens neighborhoods that I just mentioned. Neighborhoods that census data unfortunately doesn't fully account for, but we know that there's a sprawling Asian American, namely South Asian and Indo-Caribbean population there. My first dabble in community organizing was 10 years ago for this particular issue. I felt very passionately about it. I still do, and I'm still asking for the same things. You talk about what neighborhoods we think are in our community. I would say Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, and Ozone Park, absolutely. There are elders behind me who are from our community who've been advocating for these communities to remain whole for 3 decades now, and we have yet to see any change in the lines. You've heard from us before. Our assembly district spans 7 different districts if we're talking about the communities we're really addressing today. Many of my family members and friends, they get excited. They think that they can vote for a candidate of their choice, and we talk about that candidate, and then they come to find out, oh, that candidate's not in their district. And that's a chronic issue in our community. Many of my members from South Queens Women's March are going to be speaking later, and I'll let them to talk about how this affects our daily lives. We are from Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park. I've lived in South Ozone Park almost all of my life. We've been lumped in with communities that are very distinct from the ones that we're talking about when we talk about our community of interest, and we're tired of that. As far as what we'd like to see, first of all, thank you for issuing the letters map that you did. We recognize that you definitely centered our voices in creating that map. We recognize what we're advocating for as a coalition today is the unity map, and we're doing that specifically because we also want to ensure that all communities find equity in these lines, right? And so we've been partnering and working with ALDEF to promote all of that and to ensure that Black and brown communities, Latinx communities, that we are all uplifted in these lines. And so today I'm advocating specifically at every level for you all to consider the unity map. I will leave it at that. One more thing I just want to note is that we want to center the Asian American community. This is a community that we fought hard to get counted in the census. We've seen that amongst I believe all of the different racial groups, Asian Americans were at the highest level of increase in the census. And that's because of a lot of our hard work. And we know that that doesn't even factor into how many of us exist in these communities. It's not about identity politics for South Queens Women's March specifically. It's about equity for us. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Questions, commissioners? Questions from the Zoom? So one question I would ask is, where specifically would you say that the unity map and the letters map differ? And is there anything in particular? We hear a lot, follow the unity map, but I think even Jerry Vadamala would acknowledge that because of block on border, the unity map is going to have to be redrawn on the Senate level. So our focus is communities and trying to keep communities together. Sure. Where do the letters and the places maps differ from the unity map, and what neighborhoods specifically would you focus on?
So, for example, the letters map stretches into Long Island 4 times, where the unity map, I believe, only stretches into Long Island once. And that is taking into consideration our community of interest. I guess that, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I would say off the top of my head is one important distinction.
No, that's very helpful.
Thank you all so much.
Well, thank you so much.